A deflating upset at home as the Browns trounced the Colts 20-3. A fairly uneventful game as the trenches battled to a stalemate in the first half before the Browns seemed to figure out a winning strategy late in the game. Indianapolis's defense crumbled in the second half under the weight of a very poor showing from the offense. Not a single touchdown pass for Andrew Luck in this game, and his favorite target, T.Y. Hilton, was limited to just 10 yards on one reception with 5 total targets. Hilton is normally sure-handed, but this game, he dropped 4 passes. Chuck Pagano's gang simply looked miserable on the field, generating only 118 offensive yards total. The Browns didn't look much better, but in the end, 184 yards was all they needed to earn their first win of the season. The momentum of the game seemed to favor the home team until a missed 23-yard field goal attempt swung everything in the opposite direction, violently and quickly. Though the Colts held the Browns to one third down conversion of their 6 attempts, the amount of time and the rapid need to return to the field was what ultimately led to the collapse. Offensively, Indy simply struggled to move the ball. After 2 sterling games, Luck finally gave up an interception early on. Joe Hayden in the first quarter secured the Browns' first interception of the season on a pass intended for Ladarius Green. Luck will continue to struggle with passing into good coverage as he gave up 2 more picks, with a third one at the goal line being called back due to defensive pass interference. He finished the day 8 for 23 for 100 yards. Cody Kessler, on the other hand, looked much more competent, completing 11 of his 18 attempts for 110 yards with 2 touchdowns and a lone interception. Isaiah Cromwell also chipped in what he could, rushing for 89 yards on 17 carries. In contrast, both Frank Gore and Robert Turbin combined for 45 yards on 14 carries. The defenses, by contrast, put up better figures. For the Browns, Myles Garrett, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Desmond Bryant were able to bring down Luck in the backfield to collect a sack each. Adding to Luck's woes was Joe Hayden, who was single-handedly responsible for all 3 interceptions. For the Colts, Perry Riley Jr. comes away with the team's lone interception of the day, while Jabal Shear collected the sole sack for the team. Darryl Morris, on special teams, knocked loose the football, continuing the team's strong hit approach on returners. While Gore was down twice with injury, he is cleared to play this upcoming week in Seattle. Not cleared will be Anthony Costanzo, out for 3 weeks with a shoulder tear, and Denzel Good, who's scheduled only to miss action in Seattle with a dislocated hip. The Seahawks will have to do without defensive tackle Malik McDowell for 6 weeks as he suffers from a more severe dislocated hip. Before we can move over to the West Coast, the Colts started addressing their needs for draft picks to execute their rebuilding plan for next season. They opened a trade with the Cincinnati Bengals, fetching up halfback Jeremy Hill and their 2019 rounds 3 and 7 picks in exchange for right tackle Zach Banner, corner Rashawn Melvin, and halfback Kristen Michael. Then floated a deal to the Philadelphia Eagles for right tackle Lane Johnson for a package deal of Terrell Basham, LaRaven Clark, and Sean Spence. Not content with just those moves, the Colts wheeled and dealed another package, this time to the Detroit Lions. The exchange saw Indy parting with Frank Gore and this year's round 6 and next year's round 5 picks for Greg Robinson and the 2019 second round pick. The team then went shopping in the free agency pool, picking up middle linebacker John Bostic. All of these tools will be needed to try and help against the Seahawks team that is coming off a dominating performance against the Tennessee Titans. Indianapolis will have their hands full against the undefeated Seahawks, especially after the latest performance against the Browns. If the explosive offense cannot do its job, what hope does the defense have to stay strong? And with a mobile threat like Russell Wilson, how does the defense look to shut him down? Thus far, Wilson has had a fairly good season going for himself through the air, collecting 808 yards with 5 touchdowns. Thus far into the season, the Colts have struggled to apply consistent pressure in the pocket against quarterbacks who stand tall in there. So what approach will they have to contain Wilson, and how will they deal with him once he breaks free and begins to use his legs? For the defense to stand a chance, they can't have the same showing from the offense. They cannot be placed back on the field so quickly when the team fails to move the ball on its first set of downs. The success of everything relies on moving the chains and being a bit more methodical. Hopefully the pickup of Hill in the backfield will help the running game that has been so lacking up to this point. Can Pagano's team readjust and avoid another catastrophe of a game? Will the Colts be able to silence the 12th man and pull out the victory? Colts, Seahawks, up next!